right, hello everybody. Hello OAS family. We have a little demonstration here of a couple of our specialty brushes, and you might have heard us talk about these brushes before. These brushes are called the Twig Brush and the Big Twig Brush, and they are in our specialty brush line. And in fact, I like to call them secret weapon brushes because when a specialty brush is very good at a very specific purpose, we call it a secret weapon brush. So we like to make things easier for newer artists. We like to collect these brushes that make certain iconic strokes much easier because they have a specific shape, they have a specific hair composition, and the twig brushes have a use, but we're going to demonstrate that very briefly, but we've talked about that before. So this video is really about this additional use that we found for the twig brushes, which they are clever little combination brushes, and I like them as single brush options for doing a complete simple grass orchid composition. So we're gonna show that to show off the versatility of these brushes a little bit. So we're gonna show their secret weapon purpose, and then we're also gonna show off this new thing that we discovered about them. All right, so this is what we're gonna do. We're using our OAS Practice Roll today. The Practice Roll is a single ply practice paper. So the good thing about the Practice Roll is it's affordable, and it shows really good color and is moisture sensitive enough to train good moisture habits, but it is not so thin as to be frustrating. So this is an acceptable level of moisture freeness in a paper, and it will sort of train you to paint on probably the most common type of paper used in the spontaneous style brush painting, which is a single ply raw Schwen paper. So this paper is meant to simulate that. And the cool thing about this practice roll is if you end up doing something that you really like on it, it's mountable, you can wet mount it, you can frame it, and it's also available. We have this paper, we sell this paper, this exact same paper as Chinese mounting paper on our website, and it's available in larger sizes. So we have, this is an 18-inch practice roll, but we also have 24 inches by continuous, like big long continuous roll, and we also have 36 inches by big long continuous roll. So if you ever wanted to do like a painting that's like 3 feet tall and like 6 feet wide, that's really hard to find a raw Schwen paper, handmade paper that is of that dimension. It's very expensive to buy and very hard to source, but this paper is really good for that. And my father has done very large commissioned pieces, that were that corporate clients were paying a lot of money for. So it is definitely a suitable paper for masterpiece level work. Okay, so here are our twig brushes. So we're gonna warm up a little bit with these twig brushes and just show you like the classic secret weapon use of them, and that is to basically do bone strokes. So usually when you finished a painting, you'll like have done like a flower, like, so say you like done a orchid or something, and then it comes and you have to do the stem. Okay, so the stem is always nerve-wracking because you always have like something that's gone really well, and then you have to finish it, and so that is can be a little nerve-wracking. So what I like about this brush is it's stockier, it's shorter, it provides more stability, so that when you're going to do that bone stroke, it gives you something more consistent. Okay, and you can see there. I swear I didn't warm up at all. This is like first try at it, and because the brush is giving me more support, I was able to do that twig stroke in a little bit more consistent fashion. Not wiggly, had good energy. So that was, that's what we like these twig brushes for. So just to showcase that stroke on its own, you can see here that I can do that bone stroke. And even as I paint more and more, it gets drier, I get a little bit of texture. And so, you know, that's why we call them the twig brushes. So you can see that on this bigger size as well. The same idea, but you know, maybe instead of big twig, we should have called it the branch brush, but we just felt like, hey. So again, I can do these bigger bone strokes. And there's also enough versatility that you can see there's quite a difference in width. A little bit drier, so you can see what happens when the brush gets drier, and I can get a little bit of texture. Okay, so this is where these brushes kind of got their initial reputation for doing these twig strokes, these things like branches. You're doing a flower composition and you want to finish with a stem. You're doing trees and you want to do branch work or the little smaller twigs. So because of their shape, they really make these bone strokes, these iconic strokes, a little bit easier and a little bit more consistent. So the reason why we the purpose of this video is to actually showcase the versatility of these brushes a little bit. And so we're going to try to use them as single brush options for an orchid painting. So I'm going to go ahead and create a little bit of medium ink. So I have a little dish of water here, and I'm just going to add a little drop of ink to that water just to create a lighter colored ink so I can show a little bit of variation. Okay, so now I have this medium ink, and then I have my pure ink in my Suzuri Stone over there. So we're going to start off just doing some practice petals so you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. All right, so the orchid petals, it's like this little like parentheses stroke. Okay. Okay, so just getting a little bit of practice here, a little bit of idea of what we're going to do. See if we can get this to be a little bit drier. Now we're showing a little bit, something a little bit more delicate. So for those of you who have moisture control problems, it's nice to find a practice paper that will help you with your moisture control. And there's a lot of tricks as far as like being able to control your moisture. One, you can always paint bigger. So if you're finding that the moisture control is difficult, just make your strokes a little bit bigger, and then you'll see that with a little bit of a larger stroke, you'll have an easier time controlling that moisture. Okay, so we showing a little bit of petals. Now we want to show like leaves too. This possibility of like, can we get this to show these orchid leaves? Can use that straight ink. Have a little bit easier time here. No? All right. So now, now that we've got a little bit of stroke warm up, we're going to go ahead and get into our actual simple composition. So again, just for simplicity's sake, just using straight ink today. And so I'll go ahead and start with the leaves. And then I'll go ahead and do my petals now. Okay, so you can see here, normally if I were to, my other options for doing a composition like this would be to use our Orchid bamboo brush and our Happy Dot. Okay, so you can see that the shapes of these brushes are more classically shaped. They are longer brushes, okay, and they're skinnier brushes. And so the advantage of a brush like that is it's more versatile. So I can paint with the tip of this brush. Okay, and get something like a little bit narrower. Or I can actually lay the body of the brush down flatter and I can get a rounder shape, you know, for something like that leaf stroke. Okay, so that's why we sort of recommend these classically shaped brushes for brand new people, because we don't really know what kind of painting you're going to do. So we're recommending the sort of highest quality, most versatile brushes that we can recommend. But the challenge with that for some people is because if the brush is versatile, then to get it to do one specific thing or another specific thing, it takes more skill. And you know, we live in a sort of an instant gratification kind of society now. So sometimes when you see something on YouTube and you're like, oh, that was really cool, and then you try it and it's hard, then it's like, oh no, and then you give up, right? Or you just aren't expecting it to to be so difficult. And so we have kind of created these idea of these secret weapon brushes to give you a little bit of an easier time with these more iconic strokes. Okay, so one more time, I want to just show the bigger brush this time. And I'm going to paint bigger. Obviously, if I'm using a bigger brush, I want to make the whole composition a little bit larger. So I'm going to showcase what's possible with this bigger brush. So now I'm going to rinse off the brush to get that straight ink off, because I want to show a little bit more variation in the petals. The petal strokes require a fairly dry brush, so then I'm going to go back and make sure that body of the brush is nice and dry, and then I'm just going to load some ink on the very tip, and then I'm going to go ahead and try to paint our petals here. Okay, so you can kind of see here that as like sometimes it's just a little bit more spontaneous and a little bit simpler to be able to paint with a single brush. I do think it's easier if you know how to use your brushes to be able to select them and try to take advantage of different sizes. So if you understand how to pick the different brushes that are ideally suited for different strokes, I do think it is slightly easier to use different brushes. But if you want that spontaneous feeling where you can complete a single painting with a single brush, then usually we're going for a combination brush. And the thing that's unique about these twig brushes is that they are combination brushes, but their shortness really makes them act a little bit bouncier than normal combination brushes. So their shortness and wideness gives them more stability and makes the tips a little bit more clever. All right, so I hope you enjoyed it. This is the Big Twig and the Twig Brush. You can buy them on our website. You can just search for them by just typing Twig Brush into the search bar, and they'll come up. They're pretty reasonably priced and really useful brushes. I think that if you get a couple, they may become the most favorite brushes in your collection. All right, so make sure to like and subscribe this video for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and as always, we wish you happy painting. Thanks, everybody.